if this is working. Can you check and see if it's working?
Yeah.
And
Check right now.
it sucks that it dropped, because now I don't know, everybody might have like moved along with their day. I didn't see any.
Probably.
I didn't see any. The only person I saw put I can't see the chat was Daniel, so I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
There's something wrong with our internet.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, you have one.
Hey, Daniel. I don't know what happened. I don't know how long it dropped for. I don't know if it's going to do it again.
Are you back?
Look and see. Hi, Denise.
It just says something went wrong. I gotta go.
So you're not pulling it up either? Hold on, you guys.
Pull it up on your iPad.
I didn't see your... I don't know if I saw your question or not, Yvonne. Hold on. Because I'm having issues with the live. It got dropped before, so I'm going to make sure that... I mean, I can see your guys'... I can see your comments right now, so... your question was about avoiding mania, right? And what to do.
Okay, I love you.
Bye, I love you too. I'm live. There I am. That's me. Woohoo, it's working. Oh, hey. I guess I can put a goal on here. Let's see. Goal amount. Timer. I'm going to try this. Share how you'll celebrate. Oh, I don't know. I'll have to come back to this. Okay. Alrighty. I couldn't do that on the other one. Yes. So like the problem is I usually, hold on, it's still playing on my, getting feedback. There's definitely a delay. Okay. So when I start to have symptoms of mania, I experience hypomania first, but the hypomania doesn't last very long at all, and I usually don't know that I'm hypomanic. I get very elated and start talking a lot and stuff like that and doing things, and I typically can't sit down, but I don't know. Like, I had to go to the hospital in 2022 because my dog died, and I was afraid that my medication wasn't going to work. And it wasn't working because I wasn't sleeping. I went 3 days without sleeping. And so I had to admit myself to the hospital. So that's one coping strategy, is that I put myself in a psychiatric hospital. But it's not fun. It's miserable. Psychiatric hospitals are a complete nightmare. Complete nightmare. They're so horrible. They're people screaming often. Sometimes people get angry and throw things. There are people who are crying. Sometimes it's just, you're trapped. Like, there's nothing you can do. Sometimes people wake up. This happens a lot. People will wake up because a lot of times when you have psychosis or whatever, you're like blacked out. But people will wake up, like realize they're in an episode and realize they're in a hospital and just completely spaz out. And I've done that before. A lot of people do that in psychiatric hospitals, but that's the one thing. I don't know if you have bipolar, you probably experience that. But so one way is to go to the hospital. But like, if I were to start to feel like perhaps I was starting to experience mania, I would make sure that I'm sleeping. So I would first go to a sleeping aid and start taking more hydroxyzine, the stuff I take to go to sleep. I would talk to my doctor and maybe add an antipsychotic to my regime temporarily. If I am starting to experience hypomania or irritability, I have Geodon on hand. I don't take it all the time anymore. I was taking it all the time. I don't take it all the time anymore. My life is in a much more stable place. I'm not at odds with my family. On the stream that got dropped before, I was talking about how I spent years estranged from my family because we had been through so much together, and I was dealing with my own diagnosis, and I had to make major changes to myself in order to continue that relationship with them. Getting diagnosed is extremely traumatizing, especially at my age. I was 40 when I was diagnosed. So I lived my entire life, and I was like so relieved and so angry and so scared at the same time, because I'm like, what the like, I could have had a completely different life. I could have, you know, maybe gone after my dreams or something like that, because but because I had bipolar disorder, I didn't really graduate college the appropriate way because I got sick in high school. And so I had to go back later and get an adult education. So then I went to college, but I didn't go to college for 4 years like the normal kids who go to college. I went for 7 years because I had to take all these prerequisites because I missed so much high school because of my bipolar disorder. So, and then you look back and you're like, holy crap, I have a mental illness. All of this stuff, all these feelings that I was feeling, I didn't do, like, they weren't necessarily my fault. So that's the part that's relieving about it. But I totally went off on a tangent. We were talking about, what made you get diagnosed? We were talking about avoiding mania. So yeah, so hospital, all the coping skills, medication. But my first go-to is sleep. Sleep is that's the one thing that's going to put out the bipolar disorder symptoms. So what made me get diagnosed? Hi, Bella. Marty, it's actually not. I've gotten a few people on my channel, especially from my generation, Gen X, because they didn't even have a lot of the medications that they have nowadays. Like, and people just didn't know a lot about bipolar disorder, and they still don't. Like, my psychiatrist told me, bipolar disorder as it relates to psychiatry is in its infancy. Those were her exact words, meaning most people don't know shit about it. So, I'm good. But yeah, a lot of people are diagnosed really late. It seems like now it's really abnormal nowadays, I think. Well, actually, I don't know. Heterochromia. Marty. My eyes are not different colors. You're talking about my eyes? Gen X. Yeah, Gen X is bad. You know what I love to do? Sorry, Skeeve, just like chat. Like, there's all these 90s Instagram reels where this chick like shows like what it was like in the 90s, like fast forwarding, rewinding a tape to record, and like talking on a rotary phone and things like that, having a Walkman, things like that. But I don't know if you've seen that one short where the ladies, like, it was a, what do they call it? Gen Z. It was a Gen Z person asking, why did you guys drink out of the hose? Did you not have a faucet? And then the lady's like, we weren't allowed in the house. Because we weren't. None of us kids were allowed in the house. We were all forced to hang out outside until the soap operas were done. Hi, Melissa. Let me know if you guys, if the chat gets really quiet and people drop off. And I may have to end the live stream because I had an issue a little bit ago, and I hope it's still, hi, Jerry Springs. I hope it's still, everything's going well. You little bipolar ball of outburst. Little stock market chart. Yeah, 70s, 80s, 90s, all amazing. Yeah, it's hard to pick. Belinda Carlisle, ooh, baby, do you know what that's worth? Ooh, heaven is a place. That's like way Gen X song. I blocked some words. You can go in and like block certain words. So it's funny because sometimes like somebody will post something and it will like in the chat, a random will post something and it will like block out that word and then put the rest, and it won't make any sense. Marty, you're too funny. Dealing with turning 50 is not great. No, it is not. No, it is not. I turned 48 in April, and it is not fun. So, at all. What about when you're very low and you have to wait until your energy rise back up? Okay, so like major depression. What I do for coping for that, I just kind of have to get through it. You know, I don't have the unfortunate thing for like major depression is like it's really hard to find a medication that like addresses that. I have a medication that works really well for anxiety. You know that nervous pit in your stomach that you get when you get anxiety, and this hydroxyzine just totally knocks that out. But in terms of having a pill that actually makes you happy and take away depression, it's really hard. So I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people have success because otherwise we wouldn't have SSRIs around. Thank you, Daniel. So if I'm in a low and like my husband will usually tell me and I'll be like, I don't feel like doing anything. He'll be like, then don't do anything. If you're sick and you don't feel like doing anything and you just want to sit on the couch, sit on the couch. So I think being kind to yourself and allowing yourself and understanding that that's a medical issue that you're having, and allowing yourself to go through that helps. It's called just being lazy. So video gamer, it's really hard to try and find a job when you're totally depressed. Absolutely, Renee. And so video gamer says it's called being lazy, which is, okay. That's a really, really strong misconception about people with bipolar disorder who are experiencing depression, that they're lazy or that they're just not trying hard enough. And that sometimes like people will say, oh, they just need to go for a walk or they just need to get up and do something and they'll get over it. And that actually doesn't work. It's a biological thing. So it helps. What helps with that is medication and therapy and coping skills, which we've been talking about. If you're just scrolling, my name is Steph. I have bipolar disorder. We're talking about bipolar disorder and coping skills, or any questions you may have if you want to hang out and chat. That's my little spiel. Hi, Orman. You guys, just don't even respond to video gamer. I'm glad that Daniel left that up there because it just shows like the misconception and how people treat those of us with mental illness sometimes, how they don't understand that it's a medical thing and how they think. And also too, this video gamer might also be a robot. So there's a lot of those that exist. Did you know that the world is not nearly as cruel as you think it is? That there aren't nearly as many hateful people out there as you think there are? Because a lot of them are robots. Just trust me, from marketing and working in advertising, that is what I discovered. God causes calamity in some translations. So a white girl magic is putting in Bible quotes. Religion is not a coping skill for me for bipolar disorder. It can be a coping skill for some, and I don't want to discredit that. Some people find a lot of strength and power in prayer, and some people really benefit from reading the Bible, and some people use reading the Bible as a coping skill, and some people use, maybe listening to religious music or whatever, really grabbing onto their faith. Some people really love that for dealing with bipolar disorder. Then you have someone like me who has bipolar disorder, who has experienced religious psychosis. And one thing that religious psychosis can make you do is go atheist. So I no longer have those same beliefs. I did at one point go to church and believe all of that stuff, and I fully support anybody that is in that place in their life. It's just not a belief that I share anymore. So for me, the power and strength that I get is from other things like meditation, which is very similar to prayer. It's just when I meditate, I focus on what I love and try to imagine having that in hopes that I will get it, and it usually works. I actually, that's how I ended up talking to my family again, is I manifested it through meditation. Work on your matter. That's awesome. Maybe I should do that. Hold on. Which parent does it say has the strongest influencer over Q? Okay, so I'm going to address white girl magic. Ethnicity is not a precursor for intelligence or IQ. And actually, in the United States, they used to call people who were Mexican, who spoke Spanish, who came over here to work with their family, they labeled them as the word retarded. And they had special schools for them where they taught them labor. They didn't teach them normal school. They gave them IQ tests that were in English. And because they took those IQ tests in English, they said, oh, these kids are dumb and they're special and they need to go to this other school. And they actually funded these other schools, which were essentially labor camps for kids. So just so you know, ethnicity has nothing to do with intelligence. Everyone needs a huggy pillow. I don't have one of those. Okay, so I don't think white girl magic is going to come back. But yeah, that's a pretty offensive question. Which ethnicity has a higher IQ? That's just absurd. I mean, there are people, it's just ridiculous. There's no ethnicity and intelligence correlation whatsoever. And there's actually evidence to the contrary. So since we have a moment and nobody's asking any questions about bipolar disorder, I will share a story with you. I have been very, very upset about what's happening with immigration. I have friends in the neighborhood who are Mexican, and I have people in my life who are Mexican. I have family who is Mexican, and these people are currently at risk. They're not at risk because they're not here legally. They are here legally. They're at risk because they're Mexican. And that's what's happening in the United States right now. This country is kind of really, really, really changed. I don't know who you're talking to, Fahur Aziz. If you're talking to someone in the chat, if you're talking to me, I have no idea what you're talking about. You're completely wrong. Nobody gave me $50. I wish they did. But yeah, so I overheard yesterday, there was a woman that we know that I'm not rich. But I do, my husband helps me by paying for a person to do the deep cleaning on our apartment once every 2 weeks. So she's Mexican and she's here legally, and she has 3 kids in this country, and she is afraid for her kids and herself because of what ICE has been doing. Because for those of you that don't know, ICE is not going and looking for specific people. They're conducting raids. They might be following through on tip lines too, but they're not going through the legal process of deportation. They're pulling anyone who's Mexican and throwing them in there. So anyway, so my friend that cleans my house every couple of weeks that I pay to do so, she was telling me how she has a friend who is here illegally, and he was leaving Home Depot. He went to Home Depot to buy something, and he was leaving Home Depot, and they snatched him up and they grabbed him and they threw him in a immigration camp. So he went there, and I don't know how this happened. I don't know if he just got lucky. I think it's because ICE are criminals, or maybe I'm not getting all the pieces of the story, but he got taken in, and he was in immigration, whatever, detainee. He was detained, and he said that it was horrible. The conditions were horrifying, that everyone was crying. Even the men were crying. He said that they were just begging to be let out. He said that every 40 minutes they would come in with a paper and ask people if they would sign it so they could be deported. It sounded really horrible. But anyways, his story is he got out. He's still here. He went, got detained, and you're allowed one phone call, right? They told him, if you pay $5,000, we'll let you go. So he paid $5,000 and he's here. So unless there's some piece of the story missing, that's what happened in that particular case. Kind of crazy, right? I'm like, he got really, really, really lucky. I was wondering if I'm indulging in watching Turkish series drama. Is that a sign of BP is causing me to be addicted to it? I don't know, Yvonne. That's funny. That fell on the floor. But Netflix is a really good place to cope with stuff for bipolar disorder. I feel like there's something I'm missing. It must be the onions. I can't cut onions though because they'll make my eyes water. But yeah, that's a crazy story, huh, guys? He just went in there and and then there's 1,200 to 1,800 people missing from Alligator Alcatraz. They have just disappeared. They're gone. Nobody can find them. Nobody knows where they are. They're gone from the system. So I don't know what happened to those people, but that sucks. This is how you do it. You mash all the chickpeas up with a fork. So that's what I'm doing. There's another way to do it. You can do it with a food processor, but I'm gonna do it this way. I have a great guy and undocumented. He works for me from time to time. He said he doesn't care if he gets deported. He'll just be back here in a month because he can make 5 to 10 times the income. Yeah, I don't know how people get deported and come back, but what they're doing right now is they're deporting people to countries that they didn't necessarily come from. Like, that's happened in quite a few places. This guy that was supposed to be sent back to Jamaica was sent to Haiti, which is dangerous. I make jalapeno bread in my bread maker. That's cool. Making bread is a good coping strategy for bipolar disorder. Cooking, I used to do when I was in, I guess it was kind of like in hypomania at the time. If you're just scrolling my name stuff, I have bipolar disorder. We're talking about bipolar disorder, coping skills, or anything else that you want to discuss. But yeah, so I forgot what I was just saying, but because I went off on this is who I am. I'm stuff talking about bipolar disorder. I'm also making chickpea untuna, which is a vegan version of tuna salad by smashing up all these chickpeas, and then I'm gonna mix them with mayonnaise and pickles and celery and fresh dill. You should always cook with fresh herbs. They're like 1,000,000 times better. And I made these beans from scratch too. I boiled them. They didn't come from a can. They're really tasty. Yeah, the bread maker does all the work. But don't you have to like buy the culture and everything? Isn't that I love hummus. If I was stuck on a desert island and I could only eat one thing for the rest of my life, it would be hummus and pita bread. If that was the only one thing I could eat. It's like my favorite. I make hummus too with the food processor sometimes. But yeah, so one really good coping skill, since we're still on this, or I'm just gonna bring it up anytime there's like dead air. I have found for myself personally is staying away from social media and the news. I am really, really, really terrible with social media. I have been on social media constantly. Daniel, you're still there. Thank you so much for continuing to mod. My husband made kombucha once too. He got the culture from his brother and he made kombucha here, and it wasn't bad. I just didn't like all the sediment in it. There's a lot of sediment in homemade. Hi, constantly changing. Oh, hey, good to see you again. Faith Farkas, hello. 1 teaspoon of quick rise yeast. Yeah, I'm gonna try to make bread someday. I make biscuits all the time, but yeah, not bread. So I'm gonna chop up the dill. But dill is really yummy. It's my favorite. It's my favorite spice. My dogs are being dead quiet. My husband left, so I have all this time to myself. I'm so glad you guys are here with me to chat and hang out with. Does anybody, I guess I should have pre-prepared questions because I don't really have any. Is anybody dealing with a loved one who's in the middle of an episode who needs help or ideas to help them come out of it? Or, hey, Philly, I love French bread because I can always eat it. And sourdough because I can always eat it because a lot of bread contains dairy or egg and I don't eat those things. But you guys, this is really good. If you want to try it sometime, you should totally cook it or make it. If you ever decide to go vegan, one thing that happens when you go vegan is you have to chop, like constantly. Everything's chopping, cutting up vegetables all the time. San Francisco, yay, the Windy City. I love San Francisco, not as much as I love San Diego. I love Long Beach now too, but I've never lived in San Francisco. I think if I live there, I might fall in love with it, but I really hate the wind and the cold. I really like how hot it is here. It's like 70 every day. Don't eat bleached flour. I have a sister-in-law who's super, super picky and she buys some kind of special flour. I don't know if that's something that I should do. I just buy regular unbleached flour. I recently started Facebook after being off of it and used the marketplace. I deleted it within 2 weeks. So much of this information. Facebook is crazy. You know what you should watch, Steve? I don't know if you're into like documentaries or anything, but Facebook is actually how Trump won the 2016 election. And there's like a whole entire documentary on it called it's called The Great Hack, and it's all about this company, Cambridge Analytica, that they specifically targeted certain people to blast with propaganda, and they were called persuadables. They were certain people that they felt could be swayed or manipulated, I guess. But it's a really good documentary. Check it out if you get a chance. I loved it. Called The Great Hack. Hi, if you're just scrolling through, my name is Steph and I have bipolar disorder and we're talking about bipolar disorder or anything else that you want to talk about. My special friend is rejecting me and ghosting me. I can't tell if they're having an episode or if they are just being a narcissist. Constantly changing. Can you tell me some of the things that you're experiencing? Is your friend acting completely out of character? Are they saying things that aren't making any sense? Are they hearing voices or anything of that sort? What kind of symptoms are they experiencing? And then I'll be able to answer that question better. Because if they're in an episode, ghosting is completely normal. I'm going to get a bread maker then. I'm going to learn how to do it. Although I could easily make tortillas and I don't even do that. But yeah, narcissistic people with bipolar disorder, when they're in mania, can appear to be very narcissistic because when you're in mania or psychosis, you're terrified. Like nothing makes sense. Your brain is going a million miles an hour. You have all these different thoughts and you're terrified. So terrified. So it really becomes, you're the only person you can really see. And because you think you can have, because you have delusions of grandeur and you think you can do anything, then it can appear like you're a narcissist, but you're not. It's a symptom. Delusions of grandeur are part of bipolar disorder. But typically, narcissism, I've watched a few YouTube videos on it. I can't I couldn't even tell, narcissism is a very touchy, I think a psychiatrist needs to diagnose that. November election, God, I hope it happens. You know, I really hope it happens. I don't know if you've heard of the SAVE Act, but the SAVE Act makes it, when you're registering to vote, your name has to match your birth certificate or your passport. So you need like two forms of ID. It's not a voter ID act. It's a voter registration thing. So when you're registering it, if you're a woman who's changed your name, then your driver's license is not going to match your birth certificate. So you will need a passport, or you'll have to bring your birth certificate or whatever. But it's basically a voter suppression law to make it harder for women to vote, which is fun because I don't know if anybody saw The Handmaid's Tale, but it was pretty bananas. And it kind of feels like, I feel like if JD Vance won the election, and you know what's so funny too, Steve, by the way, I blocked the word Trump, so no one's allowed to put that in the chat. I don't want to see it, so, so I blocked that word. But it drives me insane. You know what I don't understand? I was talking to my husband last night. Here's what I don't understand. I don't understand white culture. I saw this thing that came up in my feed where this guy, it was like a hearing on Capitol Hill or whatever. It was Congress hearing, and some guy was like, you know, they're disappearing white people. White culture is being disappeared. And I'm like, okay, what is white culture? Let me like Google this, because I'm white and I don't, what's my culture? You know, white people kick their kids out of the home at 18. Like, that's the only thing I really like notice, you know, like I know African American culture, I know hair culture, like it's very tight knit family community. There's like clam bakes and stuff like that. There's all kinds of culture surrounding African Americans. There's all kinds of culture surrounding Native Americans, all kinds of culture surrounding Asian people. But white people, I don't know what the culture is, because everything that we have is borrowed from everyone else. Like, United States is supposed to be a melting pot. We're supposed to be people from everywhere. So I'm like Googling last night, what does this guy mean? And I asked my husband, I'm like, what is he talking about? They're erasing white culture. What is white culture? And he's like, they're talking about Christian nationalism. And I'm like, oh, now I get it. They're talking about Christian nationalism, which is essentially white people believe they're superior to everyone else, and they are very Christian, which is not white culture at all. I have nothing to do with that. But Daniel, you're still in there. Thank you so much. I appreciate you modding. It's really cool that you're modding with me. I forgot to remind a few people. Hey, you guys, I have a friend on another channel. Her name's Jess. She has a channel called Our Bipolar, and she's doing a live stream tomorrow. I think around the same time, 12, but she's in PA. So, but she has a channel called Our Bipolar, and she's doing a live tomorrow with her husband. So if you guys are interested in going to that one, tell her I sent you there. But yeah, it's tomorrow. Yeah, Mike Johnson. Is he gone? I haven't heard anything about that. But anyways, so I'm thinking in terms of coping skills for myself personally, because I get very involved in politics. I'm every day I wake up and I'm upset about what's happening in the world, and I'm upset about immigration. It's like one of the first things that comes to my mind, like the fear of that. And now that I'm talking about that, I just want to bring this up because I do live in fear for my loved ones right now, and it's not something that I've ever had to deal with before. I don't want to say that entirely is true, because I do worry about my sister. But a lot of people were saying they were going to creators on Instagram and saying, hey, why aren't you talking about this? Why aren't you talking about what's going on? And why aren't you talking about how Alex Pretty died, and this was happening on Black creators page. And so a few people were getting like this, but this guy, his response really stood out to me, and I want to bring it up because I was talking about this living in fear. And so he came on there and he said, because somebody said, at a time like this, how could you be talking about this? Why aren't you talking about this? And he's like, at a time like this, he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I've lived in fear my entire life. So I've been getting all these things come up in my feed on Instagram about like African American history and how white people treated Black people. And I have been, I I was really moved by what the guy said, because he was like, you know, it's been a time like this for me all along. I've always been afraid. I've always been afraid if I get pulled over, I'm going to be sent to jail for no reason. Like, yeah, you're worried and you're living in fear now because you are going through this. I've always been going through this. Why do I need to speak up on this now? That was his feelings. And so I just wanted to recognize that, because it was really impactful for me, because while I do have extreme empathy and I do experience other people's pain, I still experience my own, and I can still tell the difference. I live in a red state. It's hard to find community if you don't drink the red Kool-Aid. Yeah, I can get that. So what do you do? How do you find people? I'm not sure I could deal with that. I had a friend who I went to college. I didn't go to college with her, but when I was in college, we worked together for the same company, and I thought we were really close friends, and we hung out all the time, and we really clicked. I thought we were like, I would consider her like one of my best friends at the time. Towards the end of our relationship, I started to see her in a different light, and so we weren't really friends as much anymore. And then a couple of years ago, I got a message from her that said, oh, we're enjoying the weather in Idaho. So I reached out to her and I was like, oh, hey. And so immediately we started going back and forth, because she said how much she loved Trump. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because at the time it was right after George Floyd had been murdered by that cop. And I got into, and this was someone that I used to be like best friends with, and she had totally changed, right? And so then I was like, whatever, I got into it with her and I didn't talk to her anymore. And then a little bit, like a year later, recently I started talking to her again. And I was like, I only talked to her a couple times, and it was fighting about politics both times. So, but I told her, you know, about Yanira, my cleaning lady. Her daughter had come to her. Her daughter's just turned 15. When she was 14, this happened. She just turned 15. Came to her crying because she was seeing families being ripped apart on the news. She's Mexican, and she said, Mom, I'm so scared, you know, she's crying, right? Because this is what's happening. This is real fear that families are having. And I tell my friend Tiana about this, and she's like, well, I find it hard to believe that they're just basically called me a liar and had zero empathy. Had no words of encouragement, like, don't worry, that can't possibly be, that won't happen. And if it does, you know what she said? She said, oh, well, it's in Jesus's hands now. So that was it. I was done with that friend. I didn't talk to her anymore. And so, and then I see a lot of people make videos like, if you still support Trump, then F you. And I like subscribe to them immediately. But I also feel like maybe that's not the best. That's not the best way to be. The best way to be would be to talk about it and stuff. But some people are just not willing to listen. Hi, Refused. What is your favorite social media? I'm on Instagram the most out of everything. And it's terrible because I will be on Instagram for hours. But I think I really want to try this, you guys, and I think I'll make a video of it. Oh, look, I just got a Facebook notification. I do have a Facebook account now, but I don't have any friends on there. It's not like an active account. And I'm planning on doing perhaps a Facebook account. I know somebody asked about a Discord, but I don't really, that's not something I've ever done before. I can look into it. I'm still trying to figure out the YouTube live thing. And actually, Bernie. God, could you imagine if Bernie just would have won? How awesome the world would be right now. Like, how much better, like, we would be much more like, we would be in a lot better situation, a lot closer to what Canada looks like in terms of, you know, like, we'd probably have free healthcare. We'd probably have better environmental regulations. Hi, Bradrick. But yeah, could you imagine? God, I would have been so happy if he would have won. But I didn't even know politics was like, I was not involved in politics until Trump. When he came around, I got really, bad things started to happen, and that's when I started taking interest. And now I'm like addicted, and it really affects my brain on a daily basis. So I think one of the ways I'm going to cope with that is I'm going to go completely off social media for 1 week. and I'm not going to look at anything at all. And I'm going to tell my husband, do not turn up the news, do not put on the news for 1 week, zero news. Like, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to completely isolate myself. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to journal. I'm going to fix years of trauma, and that's my plan. So that's what I'm going to try and do to help me deal with. If you go back to 2000, 1000 more votes in Florida, things would be much better. Yeah, right? So go off of everything and then just regroup and see, because right now it's like there was George Floyd, and that was really traumatic for me. That was traumatic for me because I didn't experience a lot of racism in the beginning part of my life. So I have extreme empathy. I'm an empath, so I feel things from other people. So like if somebody walks down the street and they're in a bad mood, I can feel it. So I have never lived in a more urban place than I do now. So I didn't experience racism like I do now. And when I say experience racism, I'm not saying racism against myself. I'm saying when I experience racism, because I experience it almost on a daily basis now, because when I walk past somebody down the street who's African American, I have to ask myself how I want to react, because because I feel as though now my actions, even if they're I just don't want to be the source of anyone's pain. So my reactions are on alert, versus if I'm walking down the street past a white person, I'm like, I don't really care. But if somebody is Black, they are dealing with a completely different universe. And so I want to acknowledge that. And I also have, because you don't have an accent, I worked as a 10-year-old. It's racism. I suggested Discord. It would be nice, but if they're trying to implicate verification, so I'm not sure if it would still be good. I'll look into it. More Black workers discriminated against me. What was it that they did that made you feel like they discriminated against you? Because I'm not going to say that they didn't. It's definitely possible. There is such a thing as reverse racism. It's not something that I can ever say that I have ever experienced without a doubt. I'm sure it's happened to me before, because if I grew up Black, it would be very difficult for me to not feel some kind of way about white people. It would be really difficult for me. So I'm not gonna say anything about that. But I don't know that, I guess white people have an accent. I don't know what kind of accent. Do you have like a Southern accent or something? I don't know what kind of area you lived in or anything like that, but there was a point to what I was saying, and I just can't remember it now. But I was talking about racism for some reason. Like I said, I have ADHD, so sometimes I lose my thought. I can't remember why I was talking about it. Getting fruits and veggies ready for 7-Eleven and other grocery store chains. We worked at night. And I remember the hard time they gave me just because they could. And this is something that only Black people did to you? And white people didn't do? Like, what exactly? I am an empath as well. Definitely feel others' energy. Yeah, so when you're an empath, it can be very exhausting, extremely exhausting, and it can make you extremely irritable and all these other things. But it's really difficult to live in the world when you're an empath. So it sucks. Unless you're like, God, if you're somewhere really fun, like a concert or something, then it's great, because you can feel everyone's energy and you're so happy you want to cry. But if If you're, you know, in a very sad place, like a funeral, then they're crying right there with all the people who are missing their loved one, even though you don't even know their loved one, that kind of thing. It was so embarrassing. I went to my husband's friend's funeral who died. He was 42 and he died of alcoholism. And I met him like once, but we went to his funeral and I was bawling and I was so embarrassed. And it was because his sister was there and his sister was talking all about the stuff that she had gone through, or how much she loved him, all the things that he had done. And so it was really, I feel like I need more chickpeas. You want to see what that looks like? It's just cucumbers, pickles, or not cucumbers, celery, pickles, smashed chickpeas, and fresh dill. And then I'm going to put mayonnaise in there. You can put onions too, but I don't think I'm going to do that because I'm allergic to onions. Should I put a little more? Maybe a little more. This is going to be so much. I forgot my husband's. No, I'm just going to leave it at that. No, I'll put some more. I'm going to be eating this for like a week. It is good. It's really good. My favorite mayonnaise is the Best Foods vegan mayonnaise, but I haven't tried a lot of mayonnaise, a lot of different mayonnaise. I've only tried like Sir Kensington one, but they have plant-based Best Foods mayonnaise, which works really good for me. My back is killing me. So what are you guys up to today? Who's gonna watch horror movies tonight for Friday the 13th? I hadn't even thought about doing that. I should definitely watch some horror movies. Oh shit, I'm not even paying attention. I did the wrong thing. I don't know if you guys are aware, but there's this cat named Storm Shadow on Instagram. I don't know if you guys have seen him. He's so cute. I have a couple different animals that I'm following on Instagram. You're cleaning, that's good. Cleaning's a good coping skill. You should have thrown that one out there. Cleaning is definitely a good coping skill. That's what I did when Sebastian died. I lost tons of weight and cleaned my entire place, like reorganized all my cabinets. Went a little hypomanic, but I didn't have an episode or anything like that. But yeah, just the depression following his loss, which really sucks. I can't believe I did that. I poured it in, I smashed it up and put it in the wrong bowl. Hang on, you guys. Mayo. Yeah, cleaning is definitely healing. Do you know what else is like? It's really gross, but it is a coping skill that some people use, which I would, well, it's not good for you, but some people find popping the zits on their face as therapeutic. It's not really good to do for your skin, but some people find that. So maybe facials. I would clean at 4 a.m. during the hypomania. Now it's more difficult. Yeah. How's your relationship with hypomania, Daniel? I'm just curious. I hate hypomania because it means that I'm getting sick, but it doesn't feel good, but it does. It's a hard relationship, I think, to have. And some people, I was asking people on Reddit one day if they like hypomania, and the responses were incredible. But a lot of people said, or a few people said, that really like struck a chord with me. Was they said that they think they think it's like a drug, like they're addicted to their hypomania. Oh my God, this looks so good. And then I'm gonna put salt and pepper in it. And so for somebody that's rapid cycling and going from hypomania to depression all the time, it's really difficult for that person to know what happiness feels like. So if you have bipolar and you're either elated or you're depressed and you're rapid cycling, you literally don't know what it's like to be happy. So hypomania is of course going to feel amazing to you. It's of course going to be something that you want to experience all the time. But sometimes I do. Sometimes I sit there and I think, well, man, maybe if I went hypomanic, I would actually write some music right now because I haven't been writing. And but it's not a good place to be. It's not something I would ever. I don't want it. I don't want to be hypomanic. I do everything I can to avoid hypomania. Um, and then when my husband tells me, "Oh yeah, you were hypomanic," then I'm embarrassed and I feel weak. I feel like I couldn't control myself, like I was out of control, and I was experiencing symptoms. Particularly if I look back at it and I'm like, I wasn't hypomanic, was I? Like questioning my own behavior is a really sick, sad feeling. So, does medication keep? I miss the cleaning and productivity, but I reached out to my psychiatrist so things won't spiral and get out of control. Absolutely, definitely. Um, the tough thing about psychiatrists, though, is sometimes you can't get a hold of them right away. So that's why I had to put myself in the hospital. I actually just thought it was the best idea if I could go to the hospital. There wasn't, when this was in 2022 after Freddie died and I didn't sleep for 3 days. My husband was telling me I was hypomanic and I didn't know what was going on. So I'm like, I need to go to the hospital. And they kept asking me, do you want to hurt yourself or anyone else? Because that's what you have to say in order to be admitted. You have to say, I'm going to hurt someone, or I want to hurt myself, or they won't admit you. And I kept saying, I have bipolar disorder. I have gone psychotic at times, and I have been dangerous and driven 100 miles an hour on the freeway. I'm afraid I'm going to do that. And so they committed me, which is a horrible process. Horrible. I went to UCLA to hopefully be admitted to UCLA hospital, because UCLA hospital, you get a very own private room, and I think there's even a TV in the room, which most psychiatric hospitals are disgusting. But UCLA is a teaching hospital, so they not only do they give you better treatment and keep you there longer at that hospital, it's nicer, it's way nicer. And so that's where I wanted to go when I took myself to the hospital to have myself committed. But they didn't have a bed. So they strapped me to a gurney and drove me an hour back to Torrance to the shitty hospital that I did not want to go to. And I had to be in the back of an ambulance with my arms and legs strapped like I was an animal and couldn't move. And it's such a dehumanizing experience. But it's what I had to do. It was a coping system. Okay, does medication keep hypomania? Okay, so does medication keep hypomania from happening? So medication is supposed to stabilize your moods, and so you don't have any mood swings. So yes and no. Medication does help all those things throughout the day, through your life, but the day-to-day and in terms of avoiding hypomania, the medication is really works for the major symptoms, like the hopelessness, life-ending symptoms, and the over the top, like delusional symptoms, the very high highs and very lows. That's what the medication usually treats. Even though you're on medication, you can still have an episode. I can still go into psychosis even though I'm on medication. So that's why I committed myself to the hospital. And for the most part, most of my symptoms are at bay most of the time. But when I drink coffee and I'm irritable, it's my bipolar is going to pop up if I'm drinking coffee, which I do often, every day, which I need to stop drinking, which I quit for a while. But it's really bad. It's not good for bipolar disorder. Hypomania feels freeing, but it's temporary. Freeing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it feels free. I guess I would use that word. I think hypomania felt pretty amazing for me when I did feel it, but I also have mixed episodes, so then I would go into depression and horrible things would happen. My back is killing me. I'm having so much issues with my sciatica. So we've been on for quite a while, but I really enjoyed you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. I'm not sure what happened. Hold on, I'm not hanging up yet, but I'm going to in a second. I'm just trying to figure out how I did that earlier. Huh. It worked somehow before, and now it's not working. Okay, well, you guys, if you're just tuning in, I'm actually going to get going right now. Please subscribe to the channel if you're interested. I have bipolar disorder. I have a lot of videos where I talk about bipolar disorder and living with bipolar disorder, but this video today, we were talking about everything. And I've been doing more lives, so if you're interested in hanging out and talking about bipolar disorder, just hanging out, please sub. And it's been really fun hanging out with you guys. Hold on. Yeah, it was good to see you, Steve. Thank you so much for modding, Daniel. I really appreciate it. And everybody that joined the live, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Daniel, because then I don't have to see all that nasty stuff. So it really appreciate it. Bye, Refuse 202. It was good to see you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. I'm gonna go in a forward fold for a long time since my sciatica is killing me. But I will see you guys the next time. I think I'm going to take a break. I think I'm going to do what I said. I think I'm going to stop. Hi, Joshua. I'm actually just cutting out. I might just abandon all social media for a week and then make a video about it and tell you guys how it went. But thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you guys next time. Bye.